How you doing, one and all YouTube subscribers and compatriots? I hope everything is going well for you. Sorry about the wobbliness. I'm kind of still dealing with some rearranging on here. New camera. I still can't believe this camera that I'm talking to that makes great video is 2 inches wide. It seems like some kind of spy camera situation or something. I shouldn't get off topic 13 seconds into my video. Got a collection update for you. We're going to be listening to, and I have no idea how to pronounce this. It's an ongoing theme here on this channel. It's not really a pronounceable thing, but I don't know. Yesu Christ? Yesu Christ? I don't know. What is mostly of concern here is that this is really good. The album demo is called Of Majestic Darkness. Really nothing original going on here, and I guess that's really its charm. This was a gift from my buddy Mitch at Sylvan Scream Analog. He may have some copies of this left, and I recommend getting it for as cheap as it is and as good as it is. It's really just like a fist in the air in a hail to the mighty Judas Iscariot. As you'll hear, there's just so many parallels that sound so similar to not my favorite era of Judas Iscariot, honestly. It's more like the Distant Solitary Night or Of Great Eternity kind of stuff. My favorite era would be the Moonlight Butchery, the Embrace the Corpses Bleeding album, the faster stuff, the stuff with the blast beats. But this is just great. It's just got that cold, chilling riffing that only Judas Iscariot could ever really accomplish well. So I've just gotten a couple of things in. It's been a while since I did an update, and I've been incredibly busy, murked and trenched in things that should bring me down, but I'm not letting them bring me down. And this music is not letting them things bring me down. So I hope you find something in this stack that you haven't heard of and that you like and that you will order, because you got to support that underground, because that underground does a lot for you and me. You and me. Yeah. Okay. First off is an album I have loved for many years since it came out. A band I have loved for probably going on 15 years or so since their inception. This is Falconer's latest album, Black Moon Rising. This is it came out in 2014. For once, I say the year that it comes out because it says it on the back of the album. I don't know if you guys have followed me enough to know that that's a problem. But this is a fan-fucking-tastic record. A little bit of backstory on Falconer. If you're familiar with the band Mythotin, Mythotin formed when the drummer from Dawn left Dawn and started playing in Falconer with... wait, no, he played in Mythotin as well. Anyways, Falconer's drummer is the guy from the early Dawn recordings, and I love his playing. And the singer from Mythotin is not in this band. I don't know if this singer has ever been in another band, but that brings me to the topic of the singer. His vocals are very unique, and I could see a lot of maybe a little more traditional metal fans finding his vocals to be a little bit off-putting, a little bit too theatrical. Some people I could maybe agree saying he sounds a little bit more like Josh Groban than your Rob Halford. And that's fine. I think it suits the music really well. And it gives it, first of all, a lot of unique personality. And waiting for my tape to turn over. Okay, the tape is turned over. Another reason I fucking hate tapes. They need turned over. Mommy needs to wipe baby's butt every once in a while. Anyways, so Falconer, I guess to boil it down, you could say it's pretty much power metal. But a lot of the things that I find really generic and annoying about most power metal bands are gone in the music of Falconer. And this is probably their best record. They've got super memorable riffs and really catchy vocals to accompany that. To make for a great listening experience. They've had a couple of dud albums, mostly where this singer wasn't in the band for a little bit of a hiatus. So I don't really pay attention to those albums, but this album, I want to say, is his return to the band. Could be fucking that up, but it's their finest record for sure. Black Moon Rising. This album, and I think why it's so great is because it kind of incorporates a lot more ferocity and winds up kind of sounding a little bit black metal-ish in times. And as a record, I guess I would say a couple of the later the later songs on the album kind of border on a little bit of butt rock genre-wise, and I would tell them to leave the hall. Anyway, this came out on Metal Blade a couple of years ago. You can pick this up for easily between $5 and $10 online, and I highly recommend you doing so. This was on a lot of year-end lists in 2014. I think mine included, and I just don't know why I never got around to picking it up. This isn't a band that really fits my mood very often, but when I get in a mood for Falconer, it lasts for maybe weeks on end or so. And I have seriously had the first, 6 songs in my head over and over and over and over and over again since it came in 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah, like I would say if I were to edit this album down, I would cut off the last 3 to 4 songs. There's 11 songs on it, which is kind of long for a metal record, especially one that's kind of epic like this. So I would just like leave it at 8 songs. The later 3 or 4 songs, just kind of wringing the rag a little bit too dry, I guess is a good way to put it. Next is, I don't think I covered this in my last video. I hope I didn't. This is Dead Silent Slumber with Entombed in the Midnight Hour. This came out in, of course it's not on the back. I'm going to go ahead and guess 2000, maybe 99. This is a solo project, a one-off solo project of Jens Ryden, who was a great singer in Naglfar for his time. He sang on the amazing Naglfar album titled Vitra, and went on to be the singer in Thurfing, a band I don't really care for, and I don't really bother to listen to, so I don't have much of an opinion of them. This is his one-off project, and I remember seeing this advertised pretty heavily back when this came out on Hammerheart, and thinking, well, I ought to pick that up, and wound up downloading it. And I don't really know what happened for 15 years, but the other day I decided to listen to the MP3s for a minute. Started off good, and I just stopped it, and I decided, fuck this, I'm gonna buy it. As I've been doing, I've been kind of like replacing MP3s with albums since doing this YouTube channel, and this might be the first time I regret that. I paid $9 for this, so big fucking whoop. But the album just doesn't really, in listening to it really for the first time on CD, it doesn't line up with what I remember it being and what I expected it to be for the longest time. The last time I did listen to this was probably 8 to 10 years ago, and I have no recollection really of it being this mediocre at best. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for this right now, but this seems to kind of land somewhere between what happens when a black metal guy wants to sound like Kiss or act like Kiss. There's a lot of like theatrical sort of Hammond organs going on here. There's a lot of sort of like late 90s, early 2000s like electronics going on. There's some like pulsing techno kind of stuff on it. It doesn't dilute the genre or the fact that it's at its core a black metal record, but it does just really ruin all attempts that it makes at being worth listening to. The vocals are great, the guitar work is fantastic, the drum machine is just kind of okay, and overall I was just really put off by the try-hard sort of nature of this album. So I don't know, maybe I'll pick it up again in a couple of years and like it a lot more. But that's really the only dud we have in this pile. We've got some serious bangers coming up. So I got those two out of the way. And man, I'm pretty sure I did this album, covered this album in my Holy Grails video. Holy Grails that I didn't have. So I'm very fucking happy to have a copy of Demigod's The Slumber of Sullen Eyes on CD. Holy shit. Aside from it being a fucking like hallmark death metal record, this is an expensive fucking rarity. This goes for $200 pretty regularly on Discogs. And I've had it on my wish list, and I'm never going to pay, well, I never would have paid over maybe $75 for a copy of it. And that just never fucking happened. But for some reason the other day, this popped up for $25 on Discogs. And it was from Russia. And this happens every once in a while, and this next CD also kind of falls in line with this. When it's from Russia, you think, well, is it a bootleg? Probably. Maybe not. I don't know. He is saying here that it's a legit copy. You know, it's listed under the right version of it. $25, I was willing to take a risk. And I've taken a risk before, and I think gotten a Russian bootleg that looked immaculate, exactly like a perfect, pristine copy. Primitive death metal from Finland, year 1993 on Drowned Productions. As far as I can tell, this is either the most perfect, legit bootleg ever made, or this is a real original copy, the Spanish version of this infamous godly death metal album. I don't know. I haven't really listened to this so much that I have a lot to say about it, but it's just blowing my fucking mind. This was one of the first albums recorded in Tico Tico Studios, which is a fantastic studio in Finland. I'm just in awe of just thinking about the idea that these teenagers in Finland in the early 90s were able to come up with something so just fucking utterly devastating, and something that I can just blast my fucking brain out to in the year 2017. And like, I can't imagine any of these guys are even still into listening to any music like this. Actually, they did play, I think, a reunion show a couple of years ago. Didn't they play this album like at MDF in its entirety or something? I'm not really into that sort of revivalism. But yeah, Finnish death metal landmark, right up there with fucking Abhorrence, Amorphous, Zisma, Pyogenesis, really Swedish. You know what I'm saying, but Demigod's Slumber of Sullen Eyes, now in my collection. I can't fucking believe I landed a copy of this on Discogs. Thank you, Discogs. I love you to fucking bits. So, another instance where I was colluding with the Russians. This is Thorns of the Carrion, and I think I also talked about this band in my most coveted wish list Holy Grail albums that I didn't have. This is a reissue discography, you know the drill, of the band Thorns of the Carrion. And I kind of hemmed and hawed about this because, first of all, the website that put this out, the label is called Endless Desperation, listed this as being sold out. It was limited to 300 copies, and it came out in 2013. And so I thought, well, I missed the boat on that shit. Maybe I'll just have to keep an eye out for an original copy of it. But then I got to looking on Discogs, and there was a seller who listed this label's website as his address. And he was selling copies of this. But he was selling like 3 different versions of it. There's like a gold disc version, and it was like $90 fucking, or maybe it was euro actually, come to think of it, because I wound up paying $45 for this triple disc set, plus shippings, so it wasn't fucking cheap. And with the wording of it on his listing, I wasn't sure if I was getting one CD for $30 or all 3 CDs for $30. I messaged him. His English wasn't good enough to understand what I was asking. So finally I just decided to fucking bite the bullet and buy it. So I'm happy that I did get all 3 CDs. Killer US Death Doom from the early 90s. And this puts together all of their recorded works. They did 2 full lengths and several demos and EPs. The Willow Weeps for Me, Darkness in the Elegy Season, and then a live set, 4 songs. And for these guys, 4 songs is pretty lengthy. Then we've got an EP, Eve Songs, The Story of the Leaves, and then the Shadow Mask Rehearsals. And then it includes the Scarlet Tapestry full length, which is fucking phenomenal. I don't think anything has been remastered. The artwork kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. I like it when a discography reissue kind of thing like this sort of borrows some of the artwork from the original releases, or at least kind of tries to maintain and portray the original aesthetic of the 90s, which is probably when something like this would have originally come out. This, just like I said in the past, it kind of seems a little bit revisionist. This was pretty funny. The booklet is like a 1/4 inch smaller than a jewel case, so it doesn't really sit in there very well. And it comes in 2 jewel cases. One of them is the double and one's a single. Also kind of weird. Tons of pictures, lots of liner notes and recollections from the band. The band went on to become a band called Estuary of Calamity. There's the original Scarlet Tapestry album cover that I wish I had an original copy of. So this thing probably goes for like $75 or so on Discogs. Pretty. Actually, I think since I joined Discogs, I haven't seen a copy of it pop up. But there is some. It says that it sells for $75. I'm a little bit dusty and rusty on my YouTube video, so I apologize. Anyways, this is a great compendium. If you're a fan of Thorns of the Carrion, I'm probably one of only 16 fans of that band remaining, but maybe you could be a new fan of Thorns of the Carrion. It really appeals to me because it sounds so 90s. It sounds so underproduced. I've been really just kind of in the mood for that live sort of band sound. God, this is hard to put together, and I'm breaking one of my fucking cardinal rules. It's just that when you pay $45 fucking dollars for a triple CD, you want it to work right. Also came with a cute little OBI strip on there. So yeah, Thorns of the Carrion. Obviously, I'll leave a link down below for you to check it out. Some 90s stuff. And last, but certainly not least, Sons of Chrome, The Black Tower. This album was released 2 days ago by my pal and cohort in crime, Bindrune Recordings, and overseas compatriot Nordvist Productions. This album fucking rules. I'm not going to mince my words. This is an amazing release. Maybe album of the year so far. I can't fucking believe how good this album is. I'd like to go into much further detail, but I think I'm going to do a full review of this. But check out this fucking hardbound digibook edition. This thing was only $15 fucking dollars from Bindrune, so I recommend picking this up. You can also pick up the LP copy of it for $17, or I think there's a non-deluxe. $17 is like the multicolor version, and there's another version of it. I'm a little rusty today, so bear with me. There's also just a plain jewel case version of this for $11. What are you doing with that $11? Just get a copy of this. It's going to blow your fucking mind. I've already been evangelical about this band on this channel. The band is from Finland, just to give you the skinny on it. Finnish band, really paying tribute to Bathory's Blood on Ice, or really like the whole Viking era of Bathory. The first album really seemed to just kind of use Blood on Ice as a template on which to paint an album over with. But this album takes off from there and at times sounds exactly like Emperor. And then a breakneck turn, they'll wind up sounding like something like fucking Judas Priest's Painkiller era stuff. They're fucking all over the place, but it all sounds incredibly cohesive. It's one of those albums that just kind of pays tribute to metal in a way, by not being all that original, but just bringing so many different influences together into a great cocktail of metal. I can't recommend this enough. Black Tower from Sons of Chrome. This is fucking great. Pick it up from Bindrune today. After you do that, punch some fucking Nazis. We'll see you next time.